What did she do to deserve this?
Now you're putting a case together for a conspiracy.
That is the worst kind of evil.
I just was like, wow, this is really like a movie.
November 28th, 2020. It's Saturday night in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, a peaceful suburb on the outskirts of Philadelphia.
The population is approximately 18,000 people.
Lansdale is an area where a lot of people come to build their families. It's where people go to stay away from violence or crime.
But for one neighborhood, this night will be anything but peaceful.
At 10 o'clock that night, a resident was letting his dog out when he heard what sounded like gunshots.
Racing to the front of his home, he spots one car racing away, and another crashed into a pole.
The car looks like it's been in an accident, but with the gunshots, it's a suspicious situation.
He cautiously approaches the vehicle, where he finds the driver slumped over at the wheel.
She looks unresponsive.
Miss.
Getting no response, he immediately calls 911.
He lets the police know what he heard and what he's seen.
Within minutes, first responders are on the scene.
The car is still running. They reach in, turn the car off, and put it in park.
They find a purse. An ID inside identifies the driver as Ebony Pack.
"30-year-old Ebony Pack grew up surrounded by a loving brood of siblings and cousins.
We had a great childhood. We was all raised as like brothers and sisters. We was very close. When we are around each other, that's our happy place.
Though small in stature, Ebony seemed like she stood 6 feet tall.
She had such a big heart. You could always go to Eb. She was always there for you, like, no matter what. She was everybody's shoulder, everybody's crutch. She was so compassionate.
With these gifts, no one was surprised when after high school, Ebony announced her plans to become a nurse.
That was her goal from the jump. She was going to Holy Family for the nursing program.
But in Ebony's freshman year of college, her life took an unexpected turn.
She got pregnant. She had dropped out of college and raised her daughter.
Along the way, she was fortunate to have the support of her baby's father.
Jeff was cool. He was funny. They was good. You know, every relationship is not perfect, but I never saw any negative things happen with them.
As a mother, Ebony was a natural.
She loved Ava so much. It was like second nature to her because she already nurtured everybody around her.
She just took on it with such grace and like finesse. She was a damn good mother.
But before long, heartbreak struck.
Ava's father went to jail for murder.
He was someone that she thought was going to be around for a very long time. She now has to pick up the pieces while raising a young child.
It was a sad situation for her and her daughter.
But with the support of her family, Ebony pulled through.
She came back home. She went back to school. She became a nurse.
She had a lot of strong Black women around her that uplifted her during this time. In spite of all of the difficulties that she faced, she still had that go-getter spirit.
But Ebony's career wasn't the only big change in her life. She was also spending a lot of time with a new friend named Brittany Norman.
She was always in West Philly with Brittany. And we started to see, like, this isn't regular friendship. And I said, Ebony, are y'all, like, together? And she got quiet for a little bit, and she started crying, and I started crying, and I said, you didn't have to keep that from me. I love you no matter what.
Her acceptance encouraged Ebony to also tell her family.
We were basically raised in church. So I think that added level of that kind of moral compass. So I don't think she necessarily wanted to hide it, but I think she wasn't comfortable outrightly saying it.
But when the relationship was finally out in the open, it was pure joy for Ebony.
Brittany made Ebony happy.
Together, they built a beautiful blended family.
Next thing you know, they're getting married.
It was not too long after they legalized gay marriage.
And they were able to support one another with raising each other's children.
But in early 2020, after 5 happy years together, the couple decided to separate.
It just couldn't work because Eb and Brittany are just totally different people.
But Ebony would have no time to wallow as the COVID pandemic quickly took hold.
She worked on the COVID unit. She thrived at it. She really did. Even when I couldn't touch them, she made them feel like, I'm still in the room with you, you're still a person, and I still love you, and I'm caring for you. She was the best nurse.
When the COVID confinement finally ended, Ebony couldn't wait to jump back into normal life.
Eb was just a different person, but in like a good way.
Her priority was like being happy and having fun.
And a trip to Miami with her nursing colleagues would change her life forever.
They did a private dinner the first time they got there.
She meets a woman named Katrina Randolph.
So why hasn't anyone introduced us before?
I know, right?
They meet, they talk, they get familiar.
Katrina talks about recently getting out of a 3-year relationship with a man.
They find comfort in one another by sharing each other's stories and being supportive and understanding.
Like, where you been?
Where have you been?
And by the time they came home, Katrina knew she wanted to be with Ebony.
Katrina was saying to her, oh, you're gonna be my girlfriend. I guess like Ebony was not used to being like the one that's like the girly girl, like somebody seeking after. I think it piqued her interest.
And Katrina certainly knew how to woo Ebony.
I got to see her come home with flowers that cost like $200. And I just saw her excited about being like, getting like the princess treatment.
Once the two became a couple, things moved quickly.
They started dating in July. They was already talking about moving in with each other in October. She seemed very happy.
But now, Ebony's life hangs in the balance.
First responders quickly discovered bullet wounds all over her body, including several shots to the chest.
Charlie 20, go ahead and start me 47 for an unresponsive female with a gunshot wound. Her name is Ebony Pack.
After separating from her wife, Ebony Pack had found love again with a woman named Katrina Randolph.
She was happy.
She was just really living her best life.
Ma'am, are you okay?
But now her life is in jeopardy.
Somebody shot into the vehicle where Ebony was.
There were bullet holes in her body.
While she's raced to the hospital, investigators contact Ebony's family.
Lansdale, the police station, called me, and I'm like, please just tell me if it's bad. And she was like, I can't. I just would say, get to the hospital as soon as you can. So my mom went, and I said, I'll stay here with the kids.
Get to the hospital, they like, she has surgery. The doctors come out here and talk to you in a minute. So my anxiety was more like 100.
Back at the crime scene, detectives have arrived and begun examining evidence.
That would say it rolled into that position and was not actually driven into that position. There was a major impact, like somebody was racing or something like that. So that evidence is very important.
There are also 9mm shell casings outside of the vehicle.
The bullets came from outside. They shot into the vehicle.
Though police have little to go on, they don't believe this was a random shooting.
This is not in the inner city.
The reputation of the area is very peaceful and very calm.
Which explains why so many neighbors have begun to gather at the scene.
Lansdale is the kind of place where people are gonna come out and insert themselves into the investigation. This is a see something, say something kind of neighborhood. It is a community of law and order, and they wanna help.
Hey, how you doing?
As does the 911 caller, who's the first witness investigators interview.
The neighbor was outside with their dog when he heard gunshots.
I heard gunshots, so I went to the front of the house, and it was a car that just sped off.
You saw a car? Can you tell us what it looked like?
The man said that he couldn't get a good glimpse of it, but based on the tail light description, it looked like it was a Cadillac.
As investigators make the rounds with other neighbors, this is quickly confirmed.
Another witness confirmed that it was in fact a Cadillac.
It's a lead detectives desperately needed, as their case has just turned into a homicide.
The fact they come out and tell me my daughter was dead. She was shot 13 times. They took the life out of me. Took the life out of me.
My mom called me. I just remember hearing her say, they killed her. And I said, what? And she said they killed her. I screamed because I couldn't help it.
By now, investigators have arrived at the hospital, where they meet with Ebony's grief-stricken mother.
Do you know anyone who would want to do something like this?
No, I don't know no one would want to hurt my daughter.
She just didn't understand, like, how this could happen. Ebony just didn't bother nobody. She never got into altercations. She would never hurt anybody. She would pray for somebody before she do anything.
You're talking about a 30-year-old nurse who's a mother. This is a person that is not leading the kind of lifestyle that would lend to essentially a drive-by shooting.
Do you know anyone who drives a Cadillac?
No, I don't.
But when detectives ask about Ebony's personal life, her mother mentions something that could be important to the case.
Well, she's going through a difficult divorce.
There were problems, there were issues.
Ebony wanted to file for divorce, but Brittany didn't.
You have an estranged wife, which is always a good place to at least begin.
Lansdale, Pennsylvania is considered safer than 45% of cities in the United States. The chance of becoming a victim of violent crime is only 1 in 861. By contrast, Philadelphia, just 27 miles south of Lansdale, is only considered safer than 2% of U.S. cities. And the chance of becoming a victim of violent crime there is 1 in 96. The mother of murder victim Ebony Pack has just told Lansdale detectives that Ebony was going through a difficult divorce.
She wanted to get out, but I don't think Brittany wanted to end her marriage.
Her mother explains that in the beginning, the two women were deeply in love.
She was happy at first.
Her family, however, wasn't.
Nobody really got down with Brittany.
Brittany was always so overbearing.
Because we love Ebony that much, and because we felt like Ebony loves her, we tolerate her.
To her mother, it seemed Brittany put too much on Ebony's shoulders.
Ebony did everything in the relationship, as far as financially wise. Like, both of y'all are grown women. You know, you can't carry the weight of everything all the time.
To the point where Ebony's mother found Brittany abusive.
It was not physically abusive, but probably mentally abusive.
Brittany just wanted to control Ebony, and Ebony couldn't be herself when she was around.
She wouldn't let Ebony go anywhere by herself. She just had to be there.
To her family's relief, Ebony eventually called it quits.
Ebony had decided to break up and to come back home.
She was tired of being a provider. She was, I guess you could say, over Brittany.
The weight has been lifted off of her, and she just felt free.
But Ebony's mother says post-separation, a new point of contention arose between them.
Ebony has a new love in her life.
A woman named Katrina Randolph.
And Brittany didn't like that. She was calling my mom about who is this girl Ebony's with. She's gonna smack them when she see them.
Which makes investigators suspect this could be a love triangle gone wrong.
Do you think Brittany would be capable of something like this?
At first I didn't, but after this, I'm not sure.
As I talked to the detectives, Brittany became a strong thought.
What about Katrina? Do you know what she thought of Brittany?
I don't know.
But Ebony's mother shares her reservations about Katrina as well.
Her energy was off. She was possessive.
I remember Ebony telling me she's not all the way there. Like Katrina chased somebody with a hammer before. That girl got some anger issues.
Under the circumstances, detectives need to speak with both women.
You have to look at both of them. New love, old love.
Well, we're very sorry for your loss, okay? We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Both Brittany and Katrina are potential suspects in this crime.
Police reach Brittany first, and she agrees to come in for an interview first thing the following morning.
Face to face with detectives, Brittany appears devastated by her ex-wife's death.
I can't believe this happened to someone like Eb.
She knew Ebony's character, and she knew that she was a good person.
Yet she doesn't deny there were tensions between them.
Brittany makes it very clear that yes, they had problems. Yes, there were arguments, but it wasn't to the point where she was some bitter, jealous ex. She knew about Katrina. She knew Ebony wanted to move on.
I didn't have no problem with them seeing each other.
But Brittany admits there was one thing Ebony was doing that she wasn't okay with.
Sometimes my daughter would be with her and she'd take her to Katrina's house, so we would argue about that.
She openly admitted that she didn't like that, and they got into arguments about it. But Brittany was adamant that she didn't have anything to do with this murder.
Well, where were you last night then?
I was with friends.
All right. Well, before we let you go, do you know anyone with a Cadillac?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in. If we have any other questions, we will get back to you.
Not long after Brittany leaves the station, Katrina comes in for questioning.
She had already heard from family and friends about Ebony's murder, and she said she was sleepless over it.
And that's when she makes a jaw-dropping revelation.
I think I know who killed her.
Katrina says my ex-boyfriend may have had something to do with this.
Katrina Randolph, the girlfriend of 30-year-old Ebony Pack, has just told Lansdale detectives that she fears her ex-boyfriend may be behind the murder.
And what's your ex's name?
Ling Dan.
Katrina and Ling had a very toxic relationship.
They had dated for 3 years.
She leaned on him for finances.
But when she finally broke things off, he refused to accept it.
He consistently stalked her, showed up to her job, consistently called her.
And discovering she was dating someone else only fanned the flames.
He was not happy about her leaving him, and specifically not happy about her leaving him for another woman.
Which Katrina believes is what triggered his sudden demand for her to return all the money he'd given her.
And how much money are we talking?
Over the years, like 19,000, but I didn't have it all.
She could only give him 10,000.
Not long after, someone broke into her home, and Katrina immediately suspected Ling.
Things that were stolen from her home just so happened to be things that Ling had purchased for her.
Did you report this to the police?
No.
Why not?
She didn't feel like she could because she didn't have any proof that he specifically did it.
Although Katrina admits that wasn't the only reason.
There was a pattern and a history of abuse.
And Katrina says that one night, Ling went too far.
She recalls she's pumping gas in her car one evening.
Ling shows up, gets inside her car where the keys are still in her ignition.
He gets into her purse trying to take money.
Ling, what are you doing? Get...
She gets in the passenger side and confronts him.
Ling, get out my car!
Hell no! Hell no!
To the point that he basically hijacks the car with her in it.
Hell no. I'm taking you, I'm taking this car.
In a panic, she climbs in the back seat and tries to call somebody for help.
Who you calling? Is that Ebony? Better tell your girl to watch her back.
He said he's gonna do something to Ebony if Katrina don't give him his money back.
Eventually, Katrina says Ling gave her a chance to escape.
Ling goes to a store and gets out to go make a purchase. She takes her car back.
Don't move.
Shaken, Katrina knew she had to take action.
She had to take a restraining order out on him.
To detectives, Katrina's theory sounds plausible, but they aren't sure she's telling the whole truth.
She has been described as someone who is controlling. What if she had become angry with Ebony and had harmed her? Could she be using Ling Dan as a scapegoat?
But when pressed, Katrina insists she and Ebony were in a good place.
She makes it very clear that her relationship with Ebony was fine.
And you didn't have any issues with her speaking with her ex-wife?
No. Why would I? I'm the one she wants to be with.
They were in love. They were inseparable.
In fact, she says that she and Ebony were planning to meet the night of the murder.
She said Ebony had called her around 9:30 to let her know she was just 10 minutes from her house. As time passed and Ebony didn't show up, Katrina got worried. She tried to call her and got no response.
But I never ever thought she would be dead.
Before wrapping their interview with Katrina, they ask if Ling drives a Cadillac.
Does he drive a Cadillac?
He doesn't.
And she doesn't know of anyone else who does either.
Detectives know they need to speak with Ling Dan. However, when they try to track him down, it seems he's in the wind.
No one knows where he is.
At the same time, investigators get a potential break in the case.
They are given access to the surveillance records from the toll road that Ebony would have taken to get to Katrina's house that night.
They found a car that followed her through the toll. It was a Cadillac.
Zooming in, investigators discover a Delaware license plate with a dealership name on it.
When they run the plates, they turn out to be fake. But when they contact the dealership, they have better luck.
They were able to confirm that they recently sold a Cadillac of this make and model.
The buyer was a man by the name of Ricky Vance.
Lansdale investigators have traced the Cadillac they believe Ebony Pack's killer drove to a man named Ricky Vance.
He becomes a person of interest.
And after running a background check, he definitely seems capable of this kind of crime.
He served state time for carjackings. He's no stranger to violence.
In fact, he had been in prison for 20 years. He had only been out on parole for a few months.
After hauling Ricky in for questioning,
what's this all about?
Detectives waste no time confronting him.
We have evidence that your car was involved in the murder of a woman named Ebony Pack.
What are you talking about?
We have your car on camera with counterfeit plates.
He immediately confirms that, in fact, the Cadillac is his, but says he'd never put counterfeit plates on it.
He also denies knowing anyone named Ebony.
But that doesn't stop police from digging further for a connection to the crime.
Do you know someone named Ling Dan?
No, ma'am.
What about Katrina Randolph? Does that sound familiar?
Who is that?
And when asked where he was the night of the murder, he claims to have an alibi.
I was in Philly watching a boxing match with friends.
And you had the Cadillac with you in Philadelphia?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you loan it to someone?
No, ma'am.
But the evidence just doesn't support his statements. Several witnesses describe the Cadillac fleeing from the scene.
Ricky's been found lying.
And when investigators look into his alibi, Ricky's caught in yet another lie.
The alibi does not check out.
And the plot only thickens when they receive his phone records.
They quickly find text messages between him and a man named Terrence Marche discussing counterfeit plates.
They also see a series of several calls between Terrence and Ricky on the night Ebony was shot, with a gap of about 3 hours right around the time of the murder.
While the phone records don't prove Ricky was involved, they are enough to get a warrant to search his car.
They find gunshot residue on the passenger seat of the vehicle.
The shots came from the passenger side of the Cadillac and to the driver's side of her vehicle. So we know that at a minimum, 2 people have to be in the Cadillac.
With Ricky stalling, investigators haul in Terrence to see if he'll talk.
Do you know a man named Ricky Vance?
Yeah.
Mr. Ling.
He also admits to knowing Katrina via Ling, but didn't have much interaction with her personally.
And Ricky knows both of them as well?
Not that I know of.
But detectives suspect Terrence is lying.
They doubt it's a coincidence that Terrence just so happens to be a link between Ricky and Ling Dan. It seems likely that all 3 had something to do with the murder.
And when detectives pull Terrence's and Ling Dan's phone records, they find their smoking gun.
The cell phone data of these 3 men put them at the same spot at 8 p.m. on the night that Ebony Pack was killed.
And they suspect Ling Dan is the mastermind behind the crime.
The theory was that Ling commissioned this hit on Ebony as revenge on Katrina.
He solicited Terrence to be the gunman, who then brought in Ricky to be the driver.
Police believe after finalizing their plans, Ling Dan left the meeting alone.
Cell phone records show his phone heading across state lines into New Jersey.
Meanwhile, Ricky and Terrence turned off their phones.
It was highly suspect that they turned them off for a 3-hour period, right at the time that the murder was taking place.
With probable cause, investigators issue warrants for all 3 suspects' arrests.
At this point, you got enough evidence for conspiracy.
Then they bring Ebony's family up to speed.
They called me. Detectives always made sure that I was in the loop.
The story was so crazy to me. The whole process of hiring 2 men to kill her. was just mind-blowing.
That is a deep-rooted evil man.
When Ricky Vance is apprehended, Ebony's family is overjoyed.
Our family did a cookout to celebrate.
But when investigators try to apprehend Terrence Marche, he's nowhere to be found.
Like Ling, Terrence now appears to be on a run too.
Fleeing basically says to any law enforcement agency, you are guilty.
I remember Ebony telling me, it's not about the way we die, it's about the way we live. And my sister lived a life. She impacted people and she inspired people. Right now I'm a nurse and I'm continuing my nursing education because of my sister. The reason I have drive and ambitions at all because of my sister. And that's just what she did to people. When I go into these patients' room, I'm thinking of Ebony.
Get this.
While investigators in Lansdale, Pennsylvania have arrested Ricky Vance in the murder for hire of Ebony Pack, the two other suspects, Ling Dan and Terrence Marche, remain at large.
All we could do is pray and pray that they didn't get away with it.
Through it all, investigators refuse to give up on the case.
Montgomery County detectives, they are pretty awesome. Like, they always call me, you know, be patient. We're getting it done. Stuff is happening. They made it their priority to bring justice for Ebony.
And when they track down Terrence's fiancée, they get crucial information on his whereabouts.
Hello? She had gotten a call from Terrence a few days before.
He's actually in Honduras with Ling.
They done fled the country.
Since then, his fiancée claims she'd lost touch with Terrence, though she had spoken with Ling.
Mr. Ling communicates with her that day Marche's run off.
But he also tells her that he's made a different decision. He's coming back to the U.S. to face charges.
Whether it was his guilt or his confidence that brought him home, police successfully intercept Ling Dan once he's back on U.S. soil.
He is arrested without incident.
Nearly a year later, Terrence Marche is still missing. Nonetheless, the trial of Ling Dan and Ricky Vance moves forward.
Pretty much my whole family were there every day. You know, we showed up for her. We showed them that she was loved.
Face to face with the family, the defendants show their true colors.
Ricky Vance, because he's a loser. I think he was just following behind that man. But Ling, because he's evil, he thought he would just get away with it. Like, he was smiling the whole time with a stupid little smirk on his face. And it's just like, yuck, that man is disgusting.
The prosecution portrays Ling as the conspiracy's mastermind.
Ling hired Terrence to be the shooter, and Terrence hooked Ling up with Ricky as the driver.
A vengeful ex-lover, Ling was motivated by jealousy and dollar signs.
Katrina moved on with Ebony, and he still wanted Katrina, and he also wanted his money.
According to the prosecution, on the night of the murder, Ling, Ricky, and Terrence met up to finalize their plans.
That killing was as a result of the meeting that took place. There was a forethought, there was a plan, so there's first-degree murder.
Afterwards, Ricky and Terrence turned off their phones and followed Ebony to the scene of the crime.
Police showed evidence from the tow of the car owned by Ricky.
They followed Ebony on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which is also laden with cameras.
And as they followed her through the streets near Katrina's home, they opened fire.
They pulled up beside her and began shooting out the open window of the passenger side of the Cadillac.
She was shot 13 times.
circumstantial evidence against the men is damning.
All the men were in the same place prior to the murder.
Not to mention Ling had fled to Honduras with Terrence.
But when it's the defense's turn, they place the blame on missing suspect Terrence Marche.
On the stand, Ricky changes his story.
He now comes forward with this theory that Marche took my car. He was acting weird. He was acting funny. He took my vehicle and came back and looked very distraught.
But on cross-examination, the prosecution rebounds with a different theory.
The only person who could essentially tell on both Ling and Vance was Terrence. So they wanted to be able to put all of this on him.
So they convinced him to go to Honduras, and then he's never heard from again.
After getting rid of Terrence, Ling comes back from Honduras. Now he and Ricky Vance can go to trial together and take the position they had absolutely nothing to do with this crime.
But the jury doesn't buy their story, convicting them of first-degree murder and conspiracy.
When they said guilty, it was like a, oh my goodness, like, thank you.
And at the sentencing hearing, when Ebony's mother makes her impact statement, there isn't a dry eye in the courtroom.
I let them know who they took away from us. I let them know that they weren't God, that wasn't their job. That is the worst kind of evil.
The judge makes sure they'll never see the outside of prison walls again.
They're sentenced to life in prison without parole.
But Ebony's family doesn't get the peace they expected.
Still feels like pointless. It still feels like I was robbed.
We can't see Ed. We gotta go to a gravesite and talk to her.
You still have your life. You still get to see your family, even if it's behind bars.
It's just not fair. I don't think I believe in justice anymore.
To this day, Terrence Marche remains missing.
His whereabouts continue to be unknown.
Terrence Marche, go to hell, if you're not already there.
The senseless crime of these three men ruined the lives of many people. But most of all, Ebony's daughter.
It breaks my heart when I see her isolate sometimes because she missed her mom. You know, I try to comfort her the best way I can. But I know sometimes that's not good enough. I know sometimes she just wants her mother arms around her. But I believe she's going to be very well empowered for her future. She has a village, and she has a whole lot of her mother in her.
A mother whose time on earth will never be forgotten.
I want people to know how loving and caring she was, how compassionate and fun she was.
Ebony was the sweetest, kindest person you would know.
I just feel blessed and honored that I got to know her. I take such pride in the fact that she was my sister. Oh, I wish everybody got to feel how it felt to be loved by Ebony. Her life is so important, and I just want people to understand that. Her name will live in our hearts and our lives forever.
Just what she needs.
She's successful, she's in love, everything falls in place.
But then she disappears without a trace.
You coming home tonight or what? Call when you get a chance.
Have you heard anything from her?
Yes, sir.
Her SUV had been parked in the same spot, and that's what prompted him to call the police.
But he isn't the only one worried.
Her daughter hadn't heard from her in like 5 days. She was afraid something like this might happen.
And the search for answers will reveal why.
He served more than 20 years in prison.
He had all these years to think about the mistakes that he had made.
19 turned everything upside down.
The shutdown really impacted people and their feeling isolated and their connection to people. And then I noticed that folks were outside, at restaurants like life was normal again.
People were still cautious, but people were happy to get back out. And I think it was a big sigh of relief to be back into the world. People started to feel like themselves again.
But that afternoon, things still feel far from normal for Tracy Brock.
Tracy's kind of worried about her mom.
Tracy, who lives in Indiana, speaks to her mom, Shawn Macklin, in Atlanta almost every day.
I've been trying to reach you all weekend.
She considered her mom kind of like her best friend.
And now here we are in the pandemic, in the midst of it. She doesn't know what's happening. She can't get in touch with her mom.
Call me. Love you.
It's now been 5 days since they last spoke.
Tracy is concerned, so she calls and asks the police to go by there to do a welfare check.
Atlanta non-emergency, how can I help you?
Hello. I'm calling to request a welfare check on my mom. She has a broken foot.
Her mother had just hurt her foot, so she had a boot on her leg.
Tracy was concerned, had her mother fallen and couldn't get up?
I'm just worried.
"56-year-old Shawn Macklin had spent most of her life serving others.
Shawn was a compassionate person. She worked in healthcare. She dedicated her life in a field where she could help others.
Folks who work in healthcare love people. They love working with people.
But Shawn's greatest love was her daughter.
She was there for her family, and she was an amazing mother.
Mother and daughter were especially close.
She's like her best friend.
And once Tracy had moved out and started having kids of her own, Shawn was ready to make a big life change.
At 56, you can find yourself in limbo because no, you're not 20, but you're also not 80. You have a lot of life ahead of you. So now what do I do? Where's my place in the world?
The search took her to Atlanta.
She really wanted to kind of live and enjoy, independence. So she moved down to Atlanta.
She got a job as an office manager with a local healthcare company.
Hi, you have an appointment this morning?
I have an appointment.
But even with a new city and a new job, there's still something missing.
She's looking for a partnership, someone who can help make her feel more stable.
Okay, thank you so much.
Has anyone told you how infectious your smile is?
You can't say infectious in a doctor's office.
And in 2019, she met Bernard Stokes.
He's in his mid-50s, charismatic and charming.
Immediately, they hit it off. There's an instant attraction.
She's excited. Like, ooh, the potential is attractive.
My schedule's pretty flexible. Think you might want to meet me for some coffee?
I'd like that. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That was probably exhilarating for her, and you fall really quick when that happens.
They get together and they start seeing each other. This is what Shawn has been waiting for.
And she wasn't about to wait any longer.
The two of them decided to take their relationship to the next level, and they moved in together. Bernard was a maintenance man for an apartment complex, and because of his job, he got an apartment.
He had his own place. She has a good job. He has a good job. So things are going very well for Shawn at this point.
She's successful. She's in love. She felt absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
But now Shawn's daughter has called the Atlanta police, worried about her mother.
When she called, she said that they usually talk every single day, and she hadn't heard from her in like 5 days.
I'm afraid she might have fallen.
Her mother had recently fractured her foot and was wearing a boot on her leg.
With this boot on her foot, it's probably more challenging to move.
Her daughter said she would have checked on Shawn in person, but she lives out of state.
And with the pandemic still a threat, her travel options are limited.
In November of 2020, even though the pandemic was kind of settling down, we were still in limbo in Atlanta. People were still dying because of COVID. It was still a very, very serious disease.
Not being able to see loved ones, not being able to see friends, that whole social dynamic really caused people some stress and anxiety.
No problem. We'll get someone right over there.
Thank you.
A welfare check is basically 911 dispatcher would dispatch an officer out to a location, and the officer would basically knock to see if someone comes to the door. They may walk around, look in windows, looking for any reason for concern.
When the officer gets to Sean's apartment, someone answers his knock.
A man in his 50s opens the door.
It's Sean's boyfriend, Bernard.
You hear about Sean?
He expresses that he's worried about her.
He hasn't seen her since she left for work 4 days ago.
I hadn't seen her in a few days, but I already filed a missing person report.
We'll get you checked in, okay?
In Atlanta, Georgia, 56-year-old Sean Macklin was making the most of her newfound freedom.
When you become an empty nester, it's like your life restarts.
She was looking for a life where she can enjoy herself.
And she'd found the perfect man to grow older with.
He's charismatic, just what she needs now, someone to love on her.
She's successful, she's in love. They were looking forward to building their future.
I hadn't seen her in about 4 or 5 days.
But now Atlanta police are at the couple's apartment after Sean's daughter asked for a welfare check.
She hadn't heard from her mom. She speaks to her mom every single day.
And when Sean's boyfriend Bernard comes to the door, he says he tried to report her missing.
When was that?
A couple of days ago.
And that was the last time you saw her?
It was a couple of days before that.
He said that they had some personal issues going on.
Issues? What type of issues?
Hell, I just asked her to move out.
He said that he and Sean were in the process of splitting up.
He was given the apartment through his work, and so it was her who had to leave. And she agreed.
We still care about each other, but you know it's for the best.
I found an apartment.
He said that she actually was already packing her stuff and preparing to move.
According to Bernard, that's one reason it took him a couple days to call the police and report her missing.
He says on Friday the 6th, Sean got up at her usual time to get ready for work.
I'll be out of here soon.
All right. I can help you move your stuff if you need me to.
Thanks. I'm off to work.
And then she left for work after that?
And that was the last time you saw her?
Yeah.
Bernard says he went back to bed and he didn't get up until it was time for him to go to work.
But he says that when he got home, Sean wasn't there.
Sean didn't come home that night, and Bernard thought maybe she spent the night at a friend's house.
But then the weekend came and went with no sign of her.
It wasn't until Sunday when he started getting worried.
He noticed that her SUV had been parked in the same spot as it was on Thursday night. That's what prompted him to call the police because he thought something was wrong.
I called the cops. They came out, but they didn't believe me.
I called 911 to say, hey, I'm concerned about her.
After the officers looked around, they said that they didn't see anything wrong.
Did I get a good number?
Especially after he explained that Sean was in the process of moving out.
But the officer conducting the welfare check isn't as willing to let things go.
After all, Bernard wasn't the only one who hadn't heard from her.
Had you tried contacting her daughter?
Well, she hasn't made contact with Tracy. That's why I'm here.
She haven't contacted Tracy? Something must be wrong.
Let me make contact with the detectives and I'll be in touch.
After talking to Bernard, the officer passes the information off to detectives.
First, he confirmed that he had called the police and attempted to report her missing.
In fact, They even find body cam footage from the encounter.
Have you heard anything from her?
Yes, sir. That's why I called.
In the video, he explains the impeding breakup and how she's moving out.
Yeah, so man, I look around.
I'll go ahead. Look.
Your stuff haven't moved since then?
No, sir. And that was my concern.
With little else to go on, the officer's hands are tied.
I looked at the arrest record. She's not showing up on that either, as well as any hospital.
But based on what they've learned from Sean's daughter and Bernard, investigators certainly feel the situation merits a missing persons report.
Yeah, that seems kind of strange.
We'll take it from here. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
The detectives started by issuing a subpoena for Sean's cell phone records.
They know the phone records will show where she's been, if she's used the phone at all. It will ping her location.
Then the detectives follow up at the doctor's office where Sean works.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, hello, how are y'all? Her boss explains that everyone loves her. She's a joy to work with.
She says that Sean is incredibly reliable and a hard worker.
She also says that Sean rarely ever calls in sick.
She always went to work on time.
So it was very surprising and shocking when she didn't show up and didn't call.
I tried to reach out to her Friday.
Sean's manager said that they sent text messages during the morning hours and then stated they tried to call during the afternoon. But the phone went straight to voicemail.
She never called you back?
No, which was really unlike her.
So now detectives are curious. Did Sean talk much about her personal life at work?
Her manager says that she was pretty private.
That is, until recently.
She started opening up about issues she was having with Bernard.
They were going through a breakup.
And according to her manager, Sean and Bernard were not on good terms.
This contradicted what Bernard had told detectives.
The manager also said that one big issue stood out.
He was evicting her.
Give me my phone!
Detectives investigating the disappearance of Sean Macklin have learned that her boyfriend, Bernard Stokes, was trying to evict the 56-year-old office manager from their apartment.
The breakup was not as amicable as Bernard had painted the picture.
Her manager actually stated Sean requested Monday off so that she can go to court to deal with the eviction.
Which is one reason Sean's manager wasn't too worried when she didn't show up at work on Friday.
I just thought she took off because, she was trying to find a place or something.
But then she says she received a strange call at the office on Monday.
Bernard called and asked for Sean.
She thought it was strange that he would call her job looking for her when he knew that she was supposed to be in court with him.
I had no idea she was missing.
Well, thank you, ma'am, for your time.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
By the time detectives return to the station from Sean's workplace, the phone records they've requested are waiting for them.
They notice she hasn't made any outgoing calls since Thursday, the 5th.
But there's several incoming calls, including calls from Bernard and Tracy.
That alone will cause detectives some concern.
However, the incoming call data does allow detectives to track Sean's movements.
The phone companies can tell detectives what location or what tower that person was near.
The phone pinged off of 2 towers.
The first ping was an hour southwest of Atlanta, in the small town of Grantville.
After it pinged in Grantville, it pinged again in Fairburn, Georgia. Now, Fairburn is halfway between Atlanta and Grantville.
So it seems like Sean goes to Grantville and starts making her way back to Atlanta.
And this was 7 hours after Bernard said that he last saw Sean.
And after that, the phone went dead.
It would be alarming if you're saying that the person is missing and then you see activity cease.
But do the phone records mean something happened to Sean? Or that she'd even gone to Grantville?
Someone else could have been in possession of the phone.
Hoping for more information, the detectives contact Sean's daughter, Tracy.
Hello?
They asked if her mother knew anybody in Granville.
I don't think so. She rarely knows anyone outside of work as far as I know. Why?
Well, her phone pinged there recently.
What?
She was already worried about her mom, and now it's even more.
She also told detectives that she's been doing a little digging on her own.
She was able to log into her mom's emails.
And what she found was troubling.
There was no activity since the 5th. There were several important emails that she didn't answer, and one was an approval for a new apartment.
The message was never opened.
Based on the phone activity and the unopened emails, the detectives believe Sean went off the grid sometime Friday.
Detectives asked Tracy, was there anyone who would want to harm your mom?
And that's when she said she was afraid something like this might happen.
What do you mean?
Well, I didn't want to say anything to begin with because I was hoping it was nothing.
But now, Sean's daughter reveals the awful truth.
Bernard was actually abusive towards her mother.
Are you sure?
Well, that's what she said.
Tracy says it started when her mother became suspicious of Bernard.
Where he's working as a maintenance man. He'll be in their houses for hours, so Miss Macklin would sometimes find it interesting that these women would want to cook for him, wanting him to come by just to check.
Sean went through Bernard's phone looking for other women's messages and texts.
And it turned out that her suspicions may have been justified.
He was talking to another woman.
The hell are you doing?
And when Sean confronted Bernard about it, he turned violent.
Give me my phone. Give me my phone.
Tracy says that he actually broke Sean's arm.
Give me my phone!
And allegedly, the boot that she had on her foot was also because of him.
Did you ever witness him being violent?
No.
Have you ever heard him threaten her?
Not exactly.
But Tracy does say that her mother was growing increasingly afraid of Bernard.
She even took out a life insurance policy.
Tracy also said that her mother obtained a carry permit and got a gun.
According to her daughter, that's why she'd started looking for a new place.
But she didn't want to leave before having somewhere else to go.
I told her just to get out, go to a shelter if she have to. But she said she would be okay.
So at this point, Tracy is afraid that Bernard really harmed her mom.
The detectives are starting to think so too.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
When they look into his background, they realize that there had been domestic calls made several times to the apartment.
Now, when police were called to come to Sean's and Bernard's house, they were all verbal arguments.
There isn't any evidence of physical abuse, including the injuries that Tracy claims her mom sustained.
But does that mean that what Sean told her daughter isn't true?
Domestic violence happens behind closed doors and not always is reported.
And in instances where the police will come, nothing will happen because the abuser is so good at hiding and disguising what is actually going on.
However, there are some things that Bernard can't hide from the detectives.
He has a litany of charges.
But what is most shocking is that in 1992, he was convicted of murder.
Detectives investigating the disappearance of Sean Macklin have just learned that her boyfriend Bernard has been previously convicted of murder.
In the 1992 murder, he killed his roommate.
At first, he says he murdered his roommate out of self-defense, thinking that the roommate was an intruder.
He told an entire story. How he heard noise, he grabbed a gun, and shot this person by mistake.
It might have worked, if not for one thing.
I'm leaving. Y'all need my money. I don't have your money. I'm leaving. You're not leaving, going anywhere. How you gonna try to make you?
His roommate had a feeling that he was going to do something to him. So what his roommate did was put a recorder in his pocket.
And the recorder told a very different story than the one Bernard gave police.
They actually had an argument. They were arguing about him moving.
This was a dispute over rent.
During this argument, he's asking Stokes questions. Why do you have that gun in your hand? What are you going to do with that gun? And you can hear the gun go off.
The recording even captured Bernard attempting to cover up the crime.
911, what's your emergency?
Stokes calls 911, tell 911 that he believes that someone was trying to break into the home, and he mistakenly shot this roommate.
The tape was more than enough to put Bernard away.
He took that case to trial, he lost, and he was convicted.
He served more than 20 years in prison before being released on parole.
And now that Sean is missing, the detectives wonder if Bernard is making a second attempt at getting away with murder.
When he was caught the first time, he had all these years to kind of think about the mistakes that he had made.
After uncovering Bernard's prior conviction, the detectives reach out to his parole officer.
His PO says that since he's been released, he has been mild-mannered and he's trying to get his life together.
The parole officer also says that Sean knew about his past.
Sean was aware of this murder, and she was trying to help him. She had a loving heart. You know, she wanted to see him succeed.
This says a lot about her personality, right? She may have just believed in him, or maybe she wanted really to believe in love that bad to where she would kind of look past even murder.
But had her faith in Bernard ended up costing Sean her life?
Just because Bernard's parole officer speaks highly of him does not mean that he would not kill again.
Hoping to find out, the detectives head to Bernard's apartment with a search warrant.
How's it going? We got a warrant to search your apartment?
When detectives confront Bernard, he doesn't shy away from his criminal background, nor does he shy away from the domestic calls.
But he does say that Sean was the instigator.
She's jealous, she's controlling. She even tried to call my kid's mom and threaten her. It was crazy.
He definitely tried to make himself into the victim.
According to Bernard, that's why they were splitting up.
He said he just got tired of Sean's jealousy.
He just wanted her to leave.
And when she tried to stall it, she said she had to wait till she get her place.
That's why he had no choice but to file the eviction.
The detectives have their doubts, though.
Eviction wasn't the only way to get rid of Sean.
So she just left?
Yeah. And I'm not lying about her. Look here.
He tells detectives he has a video, and you can see how Sean was.
He actually recorded the last argument they had.
The video is only a few seconds long, but you can hear Sean yelling at Bernard from the bathroom.
I don't give a damn.
See, that's what I'm saying. You do them and take it out on me.
I ain't taking nothing out on you. I don't want to take your life out on you. It's your life.
You do.
And since they have a search warrant, there's nothing he can do to stop them from looking around.
They also luminol the apartment.
Luminol is a chemical that can reveal where someone has cleaned up bloodstains.
At first, the results are disappointing.
That's until they get to the bathroom.
And when we luminol the bathroom, you can see blood.
Detectives investigating Sean Macklin's disappearance have just found evidence of blood in the apartment she shared with her boyfriend, Bernard Stokes.
Luminol reveals that there is splatters of blood in the bathroom.
You can see blood smears on the bathroom handle, the bathroom sink, and also on the floor.
There's also blood on the molding and a comb on the counter.
It's not enough to prove that anyone was killed in the bathroom, but it is quite suspicious.
Hey, Bernard.
When detectives ask Bernard about the blood, he says he has no idea how it got there.
However, given all they knew about Bernard's criminal past and his alleged abuse of Sean, the detectives didn't believe him.
All right, we're gonna have you come down to the precinct for some more questions. We'll meet you down there.
It's fine.
But before they head back to the station, the detectives stop by the apartment complex's management office.
They want to see the surveillance video, the hours surrounding Sean's disappearance.
When they review the video, they get the first evidence that Bernard is lying.
First of all, they're able to see Sean the evening before her disappearance.
On November 5th, around 7 p.m., you see on surveillance video, she exits her car and she goes into her building.
But they never see her leave again.
And there's no chance she could have left out a different exit?
No, we have 17 cameras. It'd have showed up if so.
You roll forward to the next morning?
Sure.
However, the cameras do capture Bernard leaving early the next morning.
They see Bernard leave the apartment on the 6th at 6:52 a.m.
Earlier, in his statement to police, he said he didn't leave till 8 that morning.
And the lie isn't the only thing the cameras catch.
We see him kind of back his pickup truck to the trash compactor area, and the bed was empty.
Unfortunately, the cameras don't pick up what happened.
But when he pulls back out 20 minutes later, there's several items in the bed.
One of the items that they see is a big box.
Where did this box come from? And why does he have it?
For detectives, the answer is simple.
Her body was in that box.
In his hallway, there's no cameras that lead to the compactor where we believe he drug her body before he backed his truck in and picked the body up and put it in the truck.
Bernard then leaves the complex and doesn't return until 4:30 that afternoon.
And guess what's missing from the truck? That big box.
And when he gets out of the truck, Bernard is also wearing different clothes than he had on when he left.
So where did he go for 7 hours? What happened to the stuff in the bed of his truck? And why is he wearing different clothing?
Detectives believe there may be a way to answer at least some of those questions.
Detectives place a trace on his license plate for the truck.
The trace allows detectives to go through the reams of data collected by traffic cameras and license plate readers scattered throughout Metro Atlanta.
You just simply can't get away with murder anymore. We have too much technology.
After requesting the data, the detectives sit down with Bernard.
They want to see if Bernard's going to be honest.
Detectives ask him, what did he do in the moments after Sean left?
Unaware of what detectives have uncovered, Bernard sticks to his story.
I told you after she left, I went back to sleep and I didn't get up to about 8 a.m.
So detectives press him and ask him, did he go outside? And he says no.
You never left the apartment at all?
No, I was in bed.
Detectives then let him know, we saw you on camera, and then he explains, finally, oh yeah, I went out to go get a cigar.
Detectives don't believe him at all.
So detectives try to appeal to Bernard's compassion.
You must have loved Sean. Don't you want to help us find her?
Of course.
He acknowledges he cared about her and he wouldn't do anything to hurt her.
But then he reveals something that is very interesting to police.
He tells detectives that he believes Sean and her daughter organized her disappearance.
Why would they do that?
To get back at me, I guess.
He said Sean was mad that he was kicking her out.
And you didn't have anything to do with it.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
But the detectives are about to call his bluff.
So, you don't have a problem taking a polygraph test?
And that's when he shuts down.
He does not want to talk anymore.
Looks like I'm gonna need a lawyer.
Suspected of killing his missing girlfriend, Sean Macklin, 57-year-old Bernard Stokes is now refusing to say more to detectives without an attorney.
He stopped talking as soon as the detective suggested that he take a polygraph.
It's enough to convince the detectives that he's lying.
We know that they were going through problems. She was leaving him.
Give me my phone!
And so, as we know, an indicator of homicide is when the victim of the domestic violence finally decides to leave.
However, something is still missing.
You have a murder case without a body.
Which is why the detectives had high hopes for the license plate recognition data.
And when they receive the results of the trace, they get a clear picture of where Bernard went the morning Sean disappeared.
Bernard left Atlanta and headed to Grantville.
Exactly where Sean's phone pinged.
2 hours later, he was recorded in College Park, a few miles from where Sean's phone last pinged.
Then they pick up his truck in Riverdale at a store.
Through surveillance, we watch him buy new men's clothes, going into the men's bathroom, changing those clothes from the clothes that he had on from when he left the apartment, and then throwing those clothes into the dumpster.
But unfortunately, even with a detailed plot of Bernard's movements that day, detectives still come up short.
They never found her body.
Other than the hits of following him through the course of him driving throughout Georgia, we don't know what he did. That is something that's still a mystery to us.
Bernard, stand up.
Despite that, the detectives place Bernard under arrest for murder.
Phone data, the license plate, the blood in the bathroom, and the surveillance video was enough evidence to make a good case.
But without Sean's body, will it be enough for a conviction when Bernard goes on trial in October of 2023?
These cases are often very hard to prosecute.
That's a very difficult climb because you have jurors wondering, do you really know if this person is dead or not?
I'll be out of here soon.
When they lay out their case, the prosecutors contend that Bernard and Sean got into an argument because she was leaving him.
She got approved for her apartment the day that we believe this disagreement happened. Mr. Stokes knew that.
So you think you're just gonna move out?
I thought that's what you wanted.
It's possible that his goal in evicting Sean was another attempt at maintaining control. And when she did not beg for him back, when he lost that control, he couldn't take it.
The prosecutors admit that they don't know exactly how he killed Sean.
But they argue that her body was in the box Bernard hauled away from his apartment the morning she disappeared.
The prosecution also argues that Bernard only reported Sean missing to cover his tracks.
In addition, and this is how sneaky he was, he actually called Miss Macklin's phone and left voicemails on her phone to cover it up.
You coming home tonight or what? It's late.
When it's the defense's turn, Bernard says that he'd been just as desperate to find Sean as anyone.
Bernard maintained his innocence throughout the trial.
But Bernard's claims make little impression on the jury.
Even without a body, the jury believes that the evidence is sufficient to convict Bernard.
He didn't think that people would take all the steps necessary that would be required to prove him guilty of murder. And, we did.
He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
It's a welcome relief to those wanting to see Bernard off the streets.
When the judge sentenced him to life without the possibility of parole, it was even better. Because we know that he doesn't even have a chance, like he did for the 1992 murder, to get out and hurt anyone else.
But the prosecutors also see Sean's story as a warning to others.
Something that stuck with me in this case was that she stayed because she wanted to wait until she was secure enough to leave. I wish she had left.
It also continues to haunt the family and friends that Sean left behind.
It's challenging because they never found the body. When we're thinking about grief, when we're thinking about closure, without having a body, having a memorial, it doesn't allow you to process your emotional experiences.
She had a new outlook on life after getting her health back.
She had been cancer-free for nearly 6 months.
But now that her darkest days were behind her, she was ready to dip her toes in the dating pool.
And the dating pool welcomed her with open arms.
She had been dating a couple of different guys. She was playing the field like any beautiful single woman would do.
By doing the things that he wanted to do. Michaela wanted to please Gerald Lowe.
You have to be mindful of who you surround yourself with. Have your own conscience, be able to make decisions on your own. When you recognize that things are not aligned with your values, then sometimes you have to exit stage left.
Young ladies just need to know their worth. You don't need this dude to manage your life. You can manage your own life. You're intelligent, you're beautiful. You can get out and do your own thing. Once you get past that hurdle and learn to love yourself, you can do anything. You can do anything.
If home is where the heart is, what happens when that heart is filled with hate? Before you know it, the darkness can consume you, and your only chance for escape is to burn the home to the ground.
True love can be empowering. You find yourself dreaming of a life you never thought possible. The perfect family, in the perfect home, with the perfect man. But what if that dream life is just a mirage? A game you're both playing. But only he knows the rules. Up becomes down. Light becomes dark. You find yourself desperate to keep playing, to keep your dream alive, until one day, it all comes crashing down. May 15th, 2010, 12:30 p.m. It's a beautiful Saturday in the North Ward neighborhood of Newark, New Jersey.
Newark is the largest city in the state of New Jersey. The North Ward, it's an urban area, is comprised of apartment buildings and businesses.
People are kind of doing the regular Saturday routine.
But that normal routine is soon interrupted by the sound of sirens.
Police get this 911 call that someone had seen a woman being attacked at her apartment.
Responding officers arrive at the apartment complex within minutes and make their way to the residence. Upon entry, they discover a grisly scene.
It was a brutal scene with blood everywhere.
There was blood all over the floor and the walls.
This woman, she's essentially laying there dying.
There were numerous lacerations all over her body.
They
Many of those stab wounds were in the neck and face area.
Neighbors who were already on the scene identify the victim as 29-year-old mother of 3, Sharon Mowens.
Sharon is literally fighting for her life at this point. She may not survive this attack.
Sharon's 2 young sons and her 10-year-old daughter are also at the apartment.
The ambulance eventually showed up and they transported Sharon and her 3 children together to the nearby hospital.
As Sharon is rushed to the hospital, detectives begin securing the scene. Soon, they will uncover the true horrors that Sharon faced, and the chilling tale of the teenage mother at the center of it all. 18-year-old Nadia Venable was determined to give her daughter the world.
She wanted to create a stable life for her daughter.
She was doing things that most people her age were not doing. She was working full-time. She had her own vehicle. She had her own apartment.
For an 18-year-old to go to work every day, come home, pay bills, there was some fight inside of her.
Nadia's relationship with her daughter's father hadn't worked out, but she didn't let that affect home life with her little girl.
She was a good mom. The two didn't have much, but they did have each other.
Soon, Nadia landed a well-paying job at a popular downtown restaurant.
She considered this job to be a stepping stone into something better. She was hoping to work her way up.
Thrilled with the opportunities the new job afforded her, there was just one thing missing in Nadia's life.
Nadia was looking for a partner that she could do life with, somebody that could help her to possibly raise her child.
A few months into her new job, Nadia found her match in 39-year-old coworker Kenny Carter.
Seems like a really good guy. She knew he got along with everybody at work.
He is much older than her. There is an allure that's undeniable.
Being a single mother who's really just getting out of your teenage years, being able to manage those things on your own becomes tough. And so it may have been very appealing to Nadia to be with this older man who could maybe show her the ropes.
He's someone that she looks up to and someone that she admires.
The two seemed to have a lot in common. Like Nadia, Kenny had just ended a relationship and had children of his own.
He had 2 children as well as kind of an adopted stepdaughter.
As for Kenny, he was intrigued by Nadia's charm and outgoing personality.
He starts to pursue Nadia to take their relationship to another level. He painted this picture that there was going to be more for the 2 of them going forward.
Soon, the 2 were inseparable.
People are looking for intimacy. They're looking for partnership. Nadia can use the love. She can use the companionship.
The relationship was really going somewhere very seriously and fast.
For Nadia's 19th birthday, Kenny surprised her with an engagement ring.
They move in together.
Even though they had a 20-year age difference, they really were getting along. They were having a good time. This was not a May-December romance. This was something that was going to go long-term.
8 months later, the happy couple received some unexpected news.
Nadia finds out that she's pregnant with Kenny's child.
In Nadia's mind, Kenny's gonna be in her life forever.
But following her 20th birthday, Nadia would find out she had competition. And if she wanted her happy ending with Kenny, she would have to fight for it, to the death. An ambulance has just transported 29-year-old mother of 3, Sharon Mowens, to Newark's University Hospital with multiple stab wounds. Her life hangs in the balance.
The injuries were so severe, they weren't sure she was going to make it.
Inside Sharon's apartment, detectives begin processing a scene that can only be described as horrific.
It was very chilling. You could see the violence. You see smears and marks, and it was a very traumatic event in such a confined space.
The scene suggests a crime of passion,
It's a close, personal attack. The attacker just wanted to make a statement.
But who would want to try and kill Sharon Mowens? And why? Investigators would soon uncover a tumultuous love triangle and the desperate lengths one woman would go to make her man happy.
She showed just how far she was willing to go to prove to Kenny, I'm the woman for you. No one else.
In May 2010, 20-year-old Nadia Venable was head over heels in love with 39-year-old co-worker Kenny Carter. The couple had recently gotten engaged, moved in together, and were now expecting a baby girl.
Kenny was the man of her dreams.
She had one child already, but it was a dream come true for her to have another with Kenny.
But Nadia didn't realize building a life with Kenny would put her in dangerous conflict with another woman.
Nadia didn't know exactly what she was getting herself into.
Investigators are trying to make sense of the vicious attack on 29-year-old mother Sharon Mowens, who has been found stabbed in her apartment.
She was stabbed multiple times.
Adding to the tragedy is the fact that Sharon's 3 children were home during the attack.
The fact that Sharon's young children were present is horrific just in and of itself.
In the kitchen, detectives note a strong odor of bleach.
We think Sharon had been cleaning immediately prior to when this incident happened. So it initially didn't strike the law enforcement officers as being strange.
Police also find what they believe to be the weapon used in the attack on Sharon.
They found a knife that was on the ground. It was approximately 10 to 12 inches long and serrated on one side. The kitchen did show sign of struggle.
While CSIs continue to collect evidence, detectives speak to Sharon's neighbors, hoping they can provide further insight into what happened. Sharon's next-door neighbor, Lisa Jackson, claims she and her friend heard a commotion coming from Sharon's apartment around noon. A few minutes later, they went next door to check things out.
They were just in shock.
Lisa says another neighbor was already there trying to help Sharon. They also found Sharon's 2 young sons in the back bedroom. But Sharon's 10-year-old daughter was nowhere in sight. Thankfully, just moments later, she returned to the apartment.
Sharon's daughter said that she ran to a local business to try and get help.
The employee at that establishment dialed 911.
Lisa says she then stayed with Sharon's daughter until first responders arrived.
She tried to comfort her and shield her from the horrific scene while they were waiting for the police.
Detectives know they need to speak with Sharon's daughter to see what she witnessed. But before they go to the hospital to interview her, detectives speak with the neighbor who had initially found Sharon. He comes forward with some chilling information.
He saw 2 assailants leaving the apartment covered in blood.
One of them gave him a smile, and he said that it was the kind of smile that you just can't unsee.
He observed those 2 getting into a green vehicle and fleeing the scene.
Detectives issue a bolo for the green SUV and its occupants, who the witness identified as 2 African-American females. After that, they head to the hospital to speak with Sharon's daughter.
Upon my arrival to the hospital, I see the 3 children there.
Family members are now with Sharon's children and inform detectives that Sharon died from her injuries shortly after arriving at the hospital.
Doctors did all they could to try to save Sharon. Unfortunately, 30 minutes after the attack, she was pronounced dead.
My heart just dropped. My brother tells me she's gone. I don't believe it. So I go in the room. My sister's laying in the bed. I can't believe this happened. My sister was the best person. She makes you smile. She will bring you joy. That girl was the most beautiful person.
Sharon's death is immediately classified as a homicide. Detectives must now begin the delicate process of interviewing Sharon's young daughter.
She said Sharon is cleaning the house. She's having fun with her daughter.
And then there's a knock on the door. She opens the door, and there's somebody standing outside asking for Sharon.
She said, "One moment," and she went and got her mother.
The child says Sharon went to the door and all of a sudden, a second woman came out of nowhere.
Bleach was thrown onto Sharon.
Bleach makes you blind for some time.
She was ambushed.
This girl knew her mother was in trouble, so she ran for help. It was very brave of her.
Sharon's daughter then reveals a shocking detail.
They learned that the person that came to the door was someone that she recognized.
She said a woman named Nana attacked her mother, and Nana is Dad's girlfriend.
Investigators are stunned. This child knows her mother's killer. And it looks like her dad does too. Soon, detectives will uncover a tale of manipulation that pushed one young woman to drastic measures.
Once she was gone, they can be together and live happily ever after.
May 2010. Police in Newark, New Jersey are investigating the stabbing death of mother of three, Sharon Mowens. Sharon's 10-year-old daughter may hold the key to solving the case.
She witnessed the attack and ran for help.
It was very brave of her, and she didn't panic or freeze, which a lot of adults would do.
Well, I was proud of my niece, and I'm like, she's a very strong girl.
Sharon's daughter tells detectives that her daddy's new girlfriend is the one who attacked her mother. At that moment, the man she calls her father arrives. 39-year-old Kenny Carter.
Kenny was actually the child's stepfather.
He was at work when this happened.
After a brief reunion with his stepdaughter, Kenny speaks with investigators.
When Kenny speaks to police, he is completely distraught.
Kenny tells detectives that he is the biological father of Sharon's two youngest children, and that he and Sharon had a lengthy history.
Kenny and Sharon, they're together for a very long time. They're considered common law husband and wife.
Kenny says that he and Sharon had been separated for more than a year, but had recently decided to get back together.
Kenny told Sharon, "I still love you. I still want to be with you. We can work this out. We can get back together."
She was really in love with Kenneth. Once he came back home, my sister was happy. She had the faith that everything was going to work out between them. My sister thought they was going to spend their life together.
Investigators tell Kenny that his stepdaughter saw who attacked Sharon and can identify her.
Police asked, "Who's Nana?"
Kenny explains that Nana is a recent girlfriend named Nadia Venable.
He told us that he believed that his girlfriend was behind it.
Kenny explains that his relationship with Nadia started up when he and Sharon were separated.
Nadia was a perfect out for Kenny, for him to feel like he can run into her arms, and the relationship between the two of them flourished during the time where he was upset with Sharon.
He said that they had planned to live together, that he was moving all of them into a larger apartment. that he was going to live with Nadia and with Nadia's child from another person, as well as the child that they were going to be having. It was going to basically be a happy family.
Kenny tells detectives that shortly after moving in with Nadia, he realized that it was Sharon with whom he really wanted to spend the rest of his life.
He worked it out with Sharon and never looked back.
Detectives suspect Nadia was jealous that Kenny had gone back to Sharon. But was she truly capable of killing for her man?
They needed to find Nadia Venable.
Police run a motor vehicle check on Nadia and discover that she owns a green SUV. The same type of car Sharon's neighbor saw fleeing the scene.
A witness saw two women leaving the scene in a car that matched the description of Nadia's car.
Detectives feel confident they're getting closer to catching Sharon Moen's killer. But in reality, they've only scratched the surface and will soon uncover a reckless game where one man had pitted two women against each other.
He liked that his new girlfriend and his ex were competing for his attention.
They fight, and what does Kenny do? He's egged on the fight.
Ay, amigos bellos. ¿Van a jugar ahorita?
Detectives investigating the murder of Sharon Moens have uncovered a deadly love triangle. And now the search is on for suspected killer, 20-year-old Nadia Venable.
When Kenny speaks to police, he explains Nadia Venable is his ex-girlfriend who he's getting ready to have a child with. But he had gone back to Sharon and to be with his family prior to Sharon being found dead.
As police search for Nadia's green SUV, detectives speak to Sharon's family to get further insight on her relationship with Kenny, as well as Kenny's dalliance with Nadia.
He introduced Nadia to Sharon and his children. This wasn't something that was kind of this dirty little secret. It was something that was out there.
Sharon's family insists that during Kenny's separation with Sharon, he was constantly instigating drama between her and his new girlfriend.
Kenneth used to say inappropriate stuff to get my sister jealous and mad. That's the type of man that he was.
The family also says that Kenny often flaunted his relationship with Nadia whenever they came to pick up the kids. And Nadia was more than happy to play along.
I think Nadia looked at Sharon and said, you know, I'm younger, I'm here now, he's mine.
She showed off the ring, saying that they was engaged.
Anger, resentment, rage, all these things probably were going on inside Sharon, all at the time while she had to be a loving mother to her 3 children.
Sharon's family tells detectives it didn't take long for the situation to come to a head.
There were physical altercations that happened between Sharon and Nadia that started off verbal and ended up with a struggle.
The family says that one especially heated altercation took place in May of 2009, and Kenny blew off Sharon's phone calls.
Sharon tries calling Kenny, he's not picking up. She then starts calling Nadia's phone. She's not picking up.
That's when Sharon saw her ex and his new girlfriend parked just a few blocks down the street.
Sharon approaches Nadia. They start screaming at each other.
Kenny could have separated those 2 women when they were fighting. From the looks of it, Kenny possibly provoked it.
He's the ringmaster. He's egging on the fight. He's not pulling them away. He's not calling the police. He's just enjoying watching these 2 women fight over him.
Each one of these women were almost trying to see who at the end Kenny would choose.
Kenny was clearly playing both of these women.
Still, Nadia is the one who will have to answer for the alleged crime. Police ramp up their search for her.
They spot Nadia's vehicle in a nearby town of East Orange, Jersey, which is not too far from Newark.
Fearful that Nadia will flee the state if she discovers they're looking for her, detectives hatch a plan to lure her into custody before she even knows what's happening.
They decide that they would tow the car.
So the next day, Nadia takes the bait, and she calls the East Orange Police Department to report her car stolen.
She gave the make and model, and they told her that she had to come down to the precinct to collect paperwork in order for her to pick it up from the impound lot.
I called the East Orange Police Department personnel. They said, if and when she comes in, you need to call my cell phone directly, and I will be there. Don't scare her off.
That same morning, Nadia walks into the East Orange precinct to claim her vehicle. The desk officer follows the plan to a T.
I arrived at the East Orange Police Department. She was sitting in the lobby. I just told her, Nadia, stand up, turn around, put your hands behind your back. We told Nadia she was under arrest for murder. Took her into custody.
It's surprising she went into this police station after the alleged murder. Even if it is a different precinct, it's still a pretty gutsy move.
Nadia Venable was charged with multiple offenses, including burglary, felony murder, conspiracy to commit murder.
Detectives are confident they've caught Sharon Moen's killer. But would Nadia come clean about her role in the crime?
After she was Mirandized, Nadia agreed to waive her rights and waive her right to an attorney, and she did speak to the police.
What Nadia says will confirm just how far she was willing to go to keep Kenny Carter by her side.
This was done for the love of a man. Nadia loved Kenny, and she would do anything for Kenny.
May 16, 2010. Investigators have arrested Nadia Venable as the prime suspect in the brutal murder of 29-year-old Sharon Moens. They believe the women were caught up in a toxic game stoked by one man, Kenny Carter.
Sharon and Kenny already had children together, but Nadia was carrying Kenny's baby.
Kenny apparently was going back and forth between the two mothers.
Detectives question Nadia, and to their surprise, she immediately opens up about what happened.
She was going to talk to us, so we were there to listen.
She told them a little bit about the background of her relationship with Kenny and with Sharon.
Nadia explains that once she and Kenny started dating, she felt their love would last forever.
And looking at this relationship, things not only progress very quickly, but very deeply. Whenever someone enters into a new relationship, there is this euphoric sense of this person is all that we need, and be that person's everything.
Nadia claims it wasn't long before Kenny proposed to her and asked her to move in with him.
They begin this romantic relationship, and about a month later, they're already living together.
They're doing everything together. It's a functioning household. It's clear that Kenny is moving on from his days with Sharon, and he's moving on with Nadia.
Nadia says that when she became pregnant, Kenny was beyond excited.
I think in Nadia's mind, it solidified her victory over Sharon. Now I have Kenny's child. I will only assume she's very prideful of all she's accomplished in a very short time. I think it's a game changer.
Kenny had promised Nadia that they were going to get a bigger house together. They were going to move all his children in together. They were going to be this big, happy family.
Nadia says that things were going well, but then, 6 months into the pregnancy, something about Kenny changed.
Kenny starts acting really funny. He's disappearing. He's gone for days on end. He's not answering the phone.
When she's questioned, questioning where are you, very vague answers, enough to make any woman essentially get upset about what's happening to her.
He began his tricks, like he did with Sharon, leaving, using her, not making those promises that he was supposed to keep.
Nadia says that Kenny's dismissive attitude toward her made her suspect he'd rekindled his romance with Sharon, which led the two women to confront each other once again.
There'd be these arguments, calling names, disrespecting of one another.
Sharon and Nadia kind of had this rivalry.
Nadia says shortly after one of these blow-ups, Kenny packed his bags and moved in with Sharon. Nadia was crushed.
She must have felt the sense of abandonment. This is the father of my child. Where is he? Why isn't he here? There's this level of desperation for answers. There's this level of wanting to understand and know what is going on. This should have really been a really happy time for Nadia and Kenny. They should have been celebrating their baby, but instead she's entirely alone.
She now has to carry the burden of the entire home, which is a heavy burden to bear. Things begin to really deteriorate very, very quickly.
According to Nadia, she was desperate to have the happy family Kenny had promised her. And she wasn't about to let Sharon take her place in that fantasy.
She straight up said I was going to go there to F her up. She didn't say that she was going there to murder her. She said she was going there to F her up.
Now 7 months pregnant, Nadia enlists her 15-year-old cousin Erica as backup.
Her intention was to go inside, to throw the bleach in her face and to beat her up.
She thought Kenny was testing her loyalty and her love. She thought he wanted to see just how far she was willing to go for him.
Nadia instructs Erica to knock on Sharon's door. When she answers, they attack. But Nadia tells police that's when things took an unexpected turn.
Nadia said it was her cousin that attacked Sharon and stabbed her to death. Nadia is somebody who, for all accounts, had a squeaky clean record. This is not somebody who was killed before.
According to Nadia, Erica was extremely protective of her and was nearly as furious with Sharon as she was.
The detectives are very suspicious of Nadia's story. They're wondering why a 15-year-old girl is going to kill a virtual stranger, and in such a horrific way.
Investigators need to find Nadia's cousin and get her side of the story.
We ended up issuing arrest warrants for her.
Police track down Nadia's 15-year-old cousin and bring her in for questioning.
Erica confirms much of Nadia's story.
She indicated that she was basically just there to back up Nadia should things get out of hand.
Nadia had this plan that she was going to use her younger cousin as a decoy to knock on the door.
But Erica explains that once Sharon came to the door, Nadia went ballistic.
She said Nadia was on top of Sharon Moen, stabbing her multiple times.
The cousin said that she never killed anyone, and that it was all Nadia.
Despite the conflicting accounts, detectives believe it was Nadia who was really wielding the knife that day.
The 15-year-old cousin had absolutely no motive to go and do any harm to Sharon or to anybody else that was involved in this.
For Nadia, with Sharon no longer in the picture, Kenny could be set free. No longer have to worry about the shame or the guilt of leaving behind Sharon and his 3 children.
Witnesses saw her leaving that apartment covered in blood. And she had this disturbing grin on her face. It's like she had won.
Investigators have arrested 20-year-old Nadia Venable and her 15-year-old cousin Erica for the murder of Sharon Mowens, a 29-year-old mother of 3. They believe Nadia's devotion to her man, Kenny Carter, may have driven her to kill.
Nadia had multiple incidences with Sharon Mowens over the past 16 months, physical altercations over jealousy and fighting over Kenny.
Authorities feel confident in their case against Nadia, thanks to help from an unlikely source.
They struck a deal with the 15-year-old cousin in exchange for her to cooperate with them and testify against Nadia.
While awaiting trial, Nadia gives birth to a baby girl.
While in prison, Nadia ended up giving birth to Kenny's baby, and the baby was taken by the state and given up for adoption.
That's because Kenny Carter, the child's biological father, had landed himself in jail shortly after the murder.
Kenny was mad about my sister being murdered. He went to him and Nana used to live at. He went there, he burnt down her house.
He damaged everything that she had, as basically saying, you can't have me.
He ended up getting incarcerated for it.
In June 2013, almost 3 years after Sharon Mowens' murder, Nadia Venable's trial finally gets underway.
It was a 3-week trial, and I have never seen a jury that was as attentive as this jury was.
The prosecution contends Nadia attacked Sharon in order to prove her love for Kenny Carter. To bolster that theory, the state calls Nadia's 15-year-old cousin Erica to the stand.
She said my sister came, running towards the door, and that's when they threw the bleach in my sister's face.
Sharon's blinded by this bleach.
They started to hit her, started to punch her.
Erica tells the court that's when Sharon's 10-year-old daughter fled the apartment.
Nadia tells her cousin to shut the door.
Sharon's in this panic. She runs into the kitchen.
She grabs a knife. She loses control.
And that's when, according to Erica, Nadia grabbed the knife and began stabbing Sharon.
Nadia wanted to keep Kenny at any cost. And even if that cost meant killing Sharon, to her, in that moment at least, it was completely worth it.
Nadia may not have gone there with the intention of completely ending Sharon's life, but once this attack got so out of control, she knew that she needed to finish what she started. And she wouldn't have to worry about this threat anymore.
Prosecutors assert that Sharon was concerned for the safety of her children, who were still in the home during the murder.
Sharon knew that she was gonna die at this moment.
That's the last thought she had, was about her children.
Erica states that after Nadia stabbed Sharon some 27 times, the two women fled the apartment, where they encountered one of Sharon's neighbors. And Nadia flashed that now infamous smile.
The smile says it all. You leave someone to die, you have blood all over you, you show no remorse, and you leave thinking you did it. That you've eliminated your competition and that your man will come back to you.
When it's the defense's turn, they make a bold move and call Nadia herself to the witness stand.
Nadia's defense is that she really didn't do it, that it was her younger cousin who did everything.
I asked her, were you there when she was stabbed over 27 times? She said, yes, I was there. She admitted to being there the entire time, but not taking any part in any of it.
But whose testimony would the jury believe? Just 3 hours after both sides rest their case, the foreman announces they've reached a verdict.
They found her guilty of all the charges.
Nadia Venable is sentenced to 55 years in prison. As for Erica, Her charges are dropped in exchange for providing testimony against her cousin. While Nadia's sentence gives Sharon's family a sense of justice, nothing could ever bring back their loved one.
My sister, Sharon, I miss her so much. But it's like, she's still with me. It's a beautiful thing, but a sad thing at the same time. Since my sister passed, I made a promise that I was gonna keep her kids together, and that's what I have done. I adopted her 2 boys. I'm doing the best that I can as an aunt. I feel like sometimes, like if she was here, a lot of things would be so much better. So much better.
It seems lives were destroyed by a jealous rivalry, fueled by one man's desire to have his cake and eat it too.
Kenny couldn't make up his mind on which woman he wanted to be with. So Nadia decided to take matters into her own hands and help him make that decision. And unfortunately, she took it too far. The moment the knife went into her hand, she lost it.
Then on July 1st, 2014, the case takes another dark turn.
Less than a year.
Some couples share an instant bond.
They were hot, they were heavy, and things were incredibly steamy between the 2 of them.
She was kind of swept off her feet, wanted to wine and dine her and really take care of her.
She had someone who wanted to be an active part of her life.
And that intense connection can grow into a common purpose.
They were struggling to make ends meet, so he turned to his past for a way out. She was all in, ready to face it together.
But what happens when that purpose blinds us to the difference between right and wrong?
She got in way too deep, but little did she know that what she was doing for her man was about to change the entire trajectory of her life.
December 2nd, 2016, Orlando, Florida. It's early morning in the city known as O-Town.
When people think of Orlando, they think about going to Disney World, they think about all the fun, just a real mecca for children, actually. It's like a dream, a fairy tale for people when they think about going to Orlando.
Orlando, Florida receives thousands and thousands of visitors every year. And typically people think of it as a very well tended to, well taken care of, fairly affluent area of the state. However, there is a portion of Orlando known as Pine Hill, which is in stark contrast to what we typically think of when we think of Orlando, Florida.
The Pine Hills neighborhood is hardly a magic kingdom.
Pine Hills, they call it Crime Hills because of so much crime.
There's a lot of issues over there. There's a lot of poverty, particularly in that area where you have poverty and the socioeconomic issues there. It leads to crime because a lot of the people that live there feel that they're trapped in some way. They can't advance the way they want to advance, so they resort to crime.
At 5 a.m., Barbara Webster is starting her morning work routine with a coworker at the Fresenius Medical Care Dialysis Center.
It was a beautiful day. We came in at 5 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, we were putting patients on the machine.
Suddenly, a coworker comes racing into the building in a panic. She's screaming that their colleague, Gregory Whitbeck, has just been shot.
Greg stumbled into the building. And when I saw him, I said, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And he just stumbled in, did not know what was going on.
Barbara notices that Greg's leg is bleeding, but it's obvious to her that something else is wrong.
He just started trying to reach out for me, and so I opened up his shirt and then turned him around and saw the bullet in his back.
Greg loses consciousness, and Barbara lets her medical training take over.
And I started doing CPR right there and then. My thoughts was just, please, God, let him make it through. Please, just let him make it through.
Minutes later, EMTs arrive.
The first responders were able to get there pretty fast. Unfortunately, the injuries were too great, and Greg Whitbeck died at his beloved place of work, surrounded by his close friends and colleagues.
For Barbara, one of Greg's closest friends, the news is devastating.
could not hold it, just screamed. They had to take me out of the clinic and take me in the back. It was like a dream. I mean, we lost somebody we cared about, loved so bad. Somebody that was the only man in there that we thought I would protect us. And he was gone.
Gregory Whitbeck was born on January 21st, 1961, at Loring Air Force Base in Maine.
His father was in the Air Force. His mother, Evelyn, was a homemaker, and she took care of their 5 children that they had together. Greg was the only son, had 4 other sisters.
Of course, coming from a military parent, there was discipline, lots of it. However, though, there was no shortage of love. His sisters and him, they all knew that their father deeply loved them, and they had a nurturing and caring mother to take care of them.
As a military family, they moved from state to state and eventually reached the other end of the country.
By the time he entered middle school, he had moved to Washington State, and he attended Tacoma Junior Academy. When he went to high school, he attended Auburn Adventist Academy.
He moved up to the state of Washington and attended Walla Walla University for both his bachelor's and master's degree in social work.
After graduation, Greg and his father opened an assisted living facility in Washington State, which they ran for close to 20 years.
He honed his skills. He had a fantastic bedside manner. The patients loved him. His employees loved him. He was devoted, he was dedicated, and he really had a heart to serve his community.
When his dad retired, Greg decided to strike out on his own, moving to a sunnier climate.
He moved cross-country all the way to Orange County, Florida, where he started his first job at a Head Start program.
Once again, serving the community, serving the children of that community, helping them to, gain better literacy skills, gain better educational resources, and just really serving the children of that underserved community.
A woman named Josette Zephyr came to his office. Greg was struck by her beauty and charm.
He was playing Kenny G music in the background, and she came in and asked him a couple of questions about some programs that were due to start later on that day, and from there they sparked up a conversation.
They start talking, and then the chemistry's there.
Greg told Josette he had a daughter named Crystal from a previous relationship. Any concern that she might be turned off by this quickly vanished.
That can be a little bit tricky because that might push a love interest away. If they're not prepared to step into that role, if they're not prepared to take on a child as their own, that can be a little off-putting. But Josette was totally open to it.
In fact, it seemed to captivate her even more. Just the fact that he was a family man and he had honor and integrity.
Greg and Josette soon found themselves embarking on a whirlwind romance.
They had a great relationship starting out. They were best friends. They talked about everything. They were excited to see that love blossom. On September 20th, 2008, Greg and Josette made it official and became husband and wife. About a year later, Greg also transitioned into a new role at a kidney dialysis facility in Orlando. He really helps those people in the community that are facing kidney issues and having to undergo dialysis. So he tends to their physical care, their mental health. He helps them socially to get everything that they need in order to receive the care that they deserve.
Greg spent 13 years at the center. During that time, he and his co-workers grew extremely close.
It was more than just friends. We were a family in this clinic. He cared about people.
But now, Greg is dead after a shooting in the parking lot of the dialysis center where he worked. Homicide detectives arrive at the scene and begin questioning Barbara and the other employees.
The first question detectives asked is, why was Greg outside in the parking lot?
When Greg came in, I was in the back getting ready to go on break, and Greg said that he was going to go back outside to drop some papers off to somebody, another social worker.
Crime scene analysts search the parking lot and find one .32 caliber shell casing.
At first glance, the details didn't quite add up. Greg has appeared to be shot twice, once in the leg and once in the back, but only one shell casing was found. Since it happened in a parking lot, it's possible the second shell casing rolled away or either got caught in the suspect's clothing.
They make note of the caliber of the gun because that's going to become relevant in ascertaining the murder weapon.
Police then canvass the area, looking for anyone who might have witnessed the shooting.
They, of course, interview the person who called 911, and that was Kristen Ayers, the employee at the Dunkin' Donuts in the same strip plaza. And she described for them what she saw exactly. She noticed that Greg Whitbeck was outside in the parking lot, and a vehicle pulled up. And it was a silver grayish vehicle. And she noticed two people in the vehicle. She noticed a young man who looked young, probably in his mid to late 20s. And she also noticed a female who was behind the wheel of the vehicle.
She recalls that the young man quickly got out of the passenger side of the car and approached Greg.
They basically exchanged words. She did not hear the words, but it didn't seem friendly. And after that, she noticed that they were physically wrestling.
Kristen says that shortly after, she heard 2 gunshots ring out and then saw Greg doubled over.
He gripped his side and leaned over as though he had been injured.
He was kind of slumped over, hunched over, grabbing his side and stumbling, fumbling back into the medical facility.
Kristen tells detectives that the young man jumped back into the car and it sped off. She then raced to the phone and called 911.
Of course, it frightened her because they're in Pine Hills. She was scared, and she called the police.
She said the young black male who was the passenger looked to be about 5'10" with a slim build. And she also noticed that the driver was a black female.
She didn't really get a great description of the female as she was in the driver's side, but she did notice that there were 2 assailants in the vehicle.
Given that the shooting has taken place in a high-crime area, detectives have to wonder if the shooting may have been a robbery gone bad.
In fact, in the 2 months prior to Greg's murder, there had been 8 reported shootings in the Pine Hill neighborhood, with 5 people killed and 5 more injured.
The witness provides one other detail. She says that when the car fled, she noticed something unusual about the rear license plate.
She said the license plate looked like it was paper, which probably mean it was a temporary tag. And they usually mean that the car was either new or recently had been sold.
It's not much of a lead, but right now, it's the only lead that detectives have.
Community leader and beloved social worker Greg Whitbeck is tragically shot in the parking lot of the medical clinic where he worked. The Pine Hills community in Orlando is known to be a rough and tumble neighborhood with more than its share of random violence.
The detectives had to take into account the area that they were in. There had already been previous shootings, other crimes that had already taken place, so they weren't sure if this was just some random robbery gone wrong or what.
But when detectives check Greg's clothing, they find his wallet. Nothing appears to have been stolen.
On the surface, that might suggest that it wasn't a robbery gone bad. But the witness at Dunkin' Donuts said she saw Greg and the man tussling. So that might mean that Greg refused to give the man his wallet, and that's why he was shot.
Police begin the difficult task of notifying Greg's family of his death. His wife, Josette, is stunned by the news.
She was devastated. She was distraught. She broke out into tears. She reacted in a way that was you'd expect for someone who lost a husband.
They asked if Greg was having problems with anyone. Did he have any enemies or anyone that might want to do him harm? And she said everyone loved Greg.
She told them she had no idea who would want to harm her husband.
They also asked Josette about her relationship with Greg.
Do they have a happy marriage? Has there been any marital conflict in recent history? And Josette says everything is great. They have a loving relationship. Nothing is wrong.
Detectives then visit with Greg's mother and sisters. Most are shocked by Greg's passing, but one sister, Diane, is not.
Diane has quite a bit to say about her sister-in-law, Josette, where Josette made it seem like her, Greg, and their daughter, Crystal, were one big happy family. Diane had an entirely different story to tell.
Diane says that while the marriage may have begun as a fairy tale, it eventually turned into a nightmare for Greg.
Diane says that Josette and Greg were anything but happy. In the later years, they had a lot of issues. Josette had become very confrontational, often being very insecure and accusing Greg of possibly cheating on her or disrespecting their marriage. Things were very argumentative and just contemptuous between the two of them.
As we know, many times sisters can be so overprotective of their brothers. She had a lot to say when it came to law enforcement. She told them his wife was verbally abusive. The relationship had turned totally toxic. He didn't feel as though there was anything that could salvage their relationship.
Diane tells detectives that Greg had an epiphany the night before he was murdered.
Greg had come to their mother's house and had dinner with her and her mother. And Greg told his mother that he has planned on leaving Josette, and he's finally done with her for good.
He told his mother, if anything happens to me, look to Josette.
Diane then tells detectives that when Greg began complaining about Josette several months earlier, she decided to do a little sleuthing.
Diane has done her own independent investigation on her sister-in-law, and she has found some shocking evidence. She's found that Josette has been married 6 times before, which is just shocking to her.
In addition to that, she used multiple aliases. She had fake birth certificates and a whole bunch of other things that would just make anyone think, what's really going on here? Why all the aliases? Why all the marriages?
She's not even sure if Josette is her real name.
Detectives ponder this new information. Why would Josette murder Greg? Why not simply divorce him? Diane thinks she has the answer.
Greg had a sizable 401k. Was it possible that she could have done a murder to get that money? Detectives always know that money is a very powerful motive.
Detectives return to the dialysis center to ask Greg's co-workers about the accusations. Barbara Weston confirms that Josette was extremely jealous.
Greg could not have friends at work. He did everything he could, to make her assure that, these are just co-workers, these are family, these are just friends.
Co-workers say Josette would even surprise Greg at his office, hoping to catch him with another woman.
His wife had shown up to the facility several times with some bizarre behavior, causing a scene, being very aggressive.
She would just come and just show up and just, it was a place of work. And he was well respected by his patients and his friends. And to show up and argue, and that was not Greg.
Any person that goes to, your spouse's job to wreak havoc and say all these crazy, outlandish things, that speaks a lot.
According to co-workers, Josette's behavior forced the office to take extreme measures.
We had to block her. The boss actually had to block her from coming to the clinic.
Josette's bizarre behavior and apparent threats have made her the #1 suspect in Greg's murder.
The eyewitness said Greg was shot by a man, but she also said that a woman was driving the silver sedan.
It's just astonishing to everyone who was in the facility at the time that even with wounds, that Greg was thinking about the greater good of everyone in that facility at the time. Greg stumbles into the medical facility, buzzes the colleague who is outside into the facility so that she's safe and protected, so that nobody else can get in and do any harm to his colleagues turned family inside the facility.
December 4th, 2016.
The family and friends of 55-year-old social worker Greg Whitbeck have told Orlando, Florida police detectives that they suspect his estranged wife, Josette, may have been involved in his murder.
They know she can't be the shooter because witnesses say it was a man. But a woman was driving the getaway car, and that could have been Josette.
Detectives obtain a photograph of Josette and return to the Dunkin' Donuts and their main eyewitness, Kristen Ayers.
They ask Kristen if Josette looks familiar. Was this the getaway driver of the vehicle that you saw the morning of Greg's murder? And Kristen cannot confirm or deny. It was quite a bit of a distance away. It was from an angle that she was watching all of this happen. And again, she was in the middle of work, kind of back and forth, dealing with customers and watching the scenario unfold.
Kristen describes the vehicle as a silver sedan. Motor vehicle records show that Josette doesn't own such a vehicle.
That doesn't clear her. The vehicle might have belonged to the man that did the shooting, or it may have been borrowed or rented. There is no way to tell at this point.
Detectives look further into Josette's whereabouts the day of the murder, and they don't really find anything that would raise any alarm bells for them. They did not find any cell tower pings, coming from her cell phone number at the time of the murder. So they're led to believe that if Josette is involved, it would be more of a murder for hire plot versus Josette physically being involved in what occurred that day.
Detectives return to Josette's house for a second interview, but she sticks to her story.
They asked her, is there any problems in the relationship? Is there anything we should be aware of? She told them they had a great relationship and that there was nothing going on, and she had no idea who would want to harm her husband.
They even asked Greg's daughter, Crystal, if she noticed anything unusual around the house. But she was in the dark as to what was going on between her dad and Josette.
She didn't have any information because her dad had worked very hard to shelter her from knowing his marital problems. He believed that grown people needed to handle their business and keep kids out of it and protect his daughters, what he did. So Crystal was none the wiser. She had no idea that her father and stepmother weren't getting along or that their marriage was in shambles.
Detectives appear to hit a dead end. But back at the station, as they comb through police reports, they uncover unusual activity in the Pine Hills neighborhood on the morning of Greg's murder.
In the 90 minutes or so preceding the shooting at the dialysis center, 2 armed robberies took place, both of them involving a silver sedan.
The first robbery involved a young man named Houston Willis.
He was on his bicycle heading into work, and he describes that a car, a silver grayish vehicle, pulled up in front of the path of his bicycle and stopped him from moving any further. Houston describes that the young man jumps out of the passenger side of the vehicle and holds him at gunpoint. Then he yells at his driver to get out of the vehicle and grab his backpack. And then they both jump in the car and speed off.
The brazen robbery nets the bandits very little money.
Houston says that the only thing he had in his backpack at the time was his cell phone and his wallet containing just $3. But he was traumatized nonetheless.
He gave the detectives a general description of the 2 robbers, who seemed to match the couple that killed Greg Whitbeck. It all happened so fast that he wasn't really able to study their faces or give any real details.
Houston's description of the vehicle matches that seen by the Dunkin' Donuts employee when Greg Whitbeck was shot. About an hour later, a woman named Carla Mitchell comes to the station to share her story of a similar encounter at an Orlando daycare center.
Detectives interview Carla Mitchell, who was getting her 3-month-old child out of the car in the parking lot of the daycare facility where her child attended.
She says the male passenger, which she describes as a young black man, points a gun in her face and orders her to give him her valuables.
She has a headset that's valued at about $150, a cell phone, and her wallet containing $140 cash.
She says the man jumped back into the vehicle and drove off.
Again, everything happened so fast that she can't give a detailed description of the robbers. Black male, medium height, and build. But it's the same general description as the other witnesses. And she also says they are driving a small silver sedan.
This time, there's another witness, a security guard who is stationed across the street.
He saw what was going on, and he was able to see the tags on the vehicle, and he noted that they were temporary tags.
This vehicle with the temporary license plate is the very same vehicle and description of the vehicle that pulled into the parking lot and killed Greg Whitbeck. This vehicle with the temporary license plate was the break in the case that the police needed.
Three days after the fatal shooting of Greg Whitbeck in the parking lot of an Orlando dialysis center, investigators have uncovered their first major break in the case. The silver sedan seen fleeing the scene the day of the murder matches the description of a vehicle seen at two other robberies.
The robbery of the bicyclist happened first, about 90 minutes before Greg's shooting. And the robbery at the daycare was just 15 minutes before Greg was shot. So they all happened about the same time and in the same general area.
The description of the robbers are the same. The description of the vehicles are the same. So there is little doubt that these robbers are connected, committed by the same two people.
Detectives run the tag through motor vehicle records and learn it is registered to a 24-year-old woman named April Koger. April Koger was born in 1992 in Orlando, Florida. She gave birth to her first child while still in high school. A second child came 3 years later. April quickly found herself struggling to provide for her family.
The father of her children didn't even want to have anything to do with his own children. He was not in their lives. He wasn't providing any kind of financial, emotional, or physical support for the children.
April really had no means to provide for her children, so she ended up moving in with her mother.
But April saw a ray of hope when 23-year-old Kenny Cheney walked into her life.
April says that she was kind of swept off her feet by Kenny. He kind of came in and just wanted to be the man for her, wanted to wine and dine her and really take care of her.
He was a lifeline. He came to her rescue. He was a good father figure for her children. He seemed to be family oriented and seemed to be exactly what she wanted and needed.
But as time went on, their financial troubles grew. Kenny, who had a criminal record, couldn't seem to find steady work anywhere.
Given his criminal background, as you can imagine, it was hard for him to find employment that would really provide for himself and April and the two children. It just became a challenge to make ends meet for the both of them.
Kenny, who wanted to provide for his newfound family, became stressed, and April did her best to encourage him, telling him to stay positive, hoping their luck would change.
With the license plate to April's car matching the silver sedan seen at the robbery scenes, detectives go to April's home. But neither April nor her car are present. They decide to use a different tactic.
They're also able to determine that the vehicle was recently purchased from a local establishment called Sam's Auto Sales. They also go down to Sam's and they are able to speak with the salesperson who sold the vehicle. He says that their facility is a buy here, pay here lot, which enables people to purchase the vehicles and pay the bill over time.
The salesman also tells detectives that April's car, like most of the cars they sell, is equipped with a GPS tracking device.
All the buy here, pay here that I know of, they have GPS tracking devices because a lot of times those buy here, pay here car dealerships, the cars end up getting repoed because they can't afford the payments.
When people get behind on their cars, they disable the cars and then they're able to track where it is and go pick it up to repossess it.
The salesman provides all of the tracking data from April's car. It's an aha moment for detectives.
they are able to determine that the silver gray vehicle that was sold at that facility was actually present at each of the locations of all 3 robberies at the time that the robberies occurred.
The salesman has something else for detectives.
The GPS tracker is not only able to track previous locations, but is able to track the current location. That is exactly what law enforcement needed.
And they find out where the car was, which was not too far from the house.
Detectives send officers to the location of the vehicle, warning them that the occupants are likely armed and dangerous.
When they get there, what will they discover? Will it be a peaceful surrender, or will it be a shootout?
With the help of a car salesman and GPS tracking data, investigators have identified the vehicle used in the murder of Greg Whitbeck. Now, Orlando police officers are heading to the location of the car and its likely driver, 24-year-old April Koger.
Detectives know that the robberies and the murder was committed by a man and a woman, and that it was the man that was armed with the handgun. Will this man be with her? Are they now outright committing more robberies? Nobody knows.
Police spot the silver sedan in a residential neighborhood. There's only one occupant in the car, a woman.
She identifies herself as April Koger. They explain to her that she has a warrant out for her arrest, and she peacefully surrenders.
They are most concerned about also apprehending her accomplice, the male accomplice in these crimes. April tells detectives that her accomplice is 23-year-old Kenny Cheney, her boyfriend, and he is staying with her at her home on Imogene Court.
The officers run a background check on Kenny Cheney. They learn he is no stranger to law enforcement.
Kenny has a very long rap sheet. He has committed several crimes over the years, and he's currently on probation for armed robbery. Armed with all of this information, the police are able to obtain a warrant for Kenny Cheney's arrest.
The police go to April's home, and Kenny opens up the door. He peacefully surrenders.
Armed with a warrant, investigators search the home for evidence of the crimes.
They find a .32 caliber pistol, which is the same caliber that was used in the murder of Greg Whitbeck. They also find 2 cell phones and a purse belonging to Carla Mitchell. They also find the backpack that belonged to Houston Willis that was stolen from him in the armed robbery that he described.
Detectives are confident that April Koger and Kenny Cheney are the 2 people responsible for the string of robberies and Greg Whitbeck's murder, but they want to hear it from them.
Detectives are able to sit down with April for an interview, and they notice that she is super nervous. And April admits that she's never been in trouble with the law before. She's feeling very unsettled, and because of that, she agrees to be very forthcoming, very transparent.
April tells detectives about how she met and then fell for Kenny. He was everything her children's father wasn't, and tried to take care of her and her kids.
She had someone who was there and who actually was present and concerned and wanted to be an active part of her life.
But his criminal record made it hard for him to get and keep a job. And Kenny noticed that he was disappointing April by not being able to provide for her.
April tells detectives that as the holidays approached, Kenny decided to take action.
Christmas was right around the corner, and he wanted to provide gifts for the kids and April, and he came up with this plan to make money fast. He told April that he wanted to take the little money that they had and buy a vehicle and go out and find easy victims to rob.
April says she simply trusted Kenny and agreed to go along with the plan.
She had no criminal history. She had not been involved in anything like this before. So to her, naively, if you will, it seemed like this was a good option.
She says Kenny wanted to commit the robberies early in the morning when there would be few witnesses. Minutes before 5 a.m., they spotted Houston Willis on his bike.
He looked like an easy target. It was just him by himself, not really any witnesses around.
He put the gun to him, and he only got $3 from it in a phone. So that wasn't a good lick.
Their next target is a woman carrying a baby. But again, their haul is less than expected.
Carla only had about $140 in cash in her purse and some electronics worth about $150. But that was really still not enough for them to do anything with. So they continued looking for their next victim. And they happened to pull up by the shopping center where they noticed Greg Whitbeck standing outside in his white lab coat.
He thought 3 times would be a charm. I know this man, he has a coat, he's a doctor, he has money. This is our lick right here.
What they didn't anticipate was that Greg was a fighter. So he actually, wrestled with Kenny in that parking lot. And unfortunately, Kenny, either inadvertently or intentionally, pulled the trigger and shot Greg twice in order to get his money.
April says she never anticipated someone would be shot. Kenny jumped back into the car and ordered her to flee.
In his haste to get away, Kenny didn't even take Greg's wallet. In other words, he killed him for nothing.
All the evidence seems to be pointing toward an armed robbery gone wrong. But detectives still have questions about Greg's wife, Josette.
Was this just 2 individuals trying to make money to feed their children? Or did Josette hire these 2 individuals to commit a murder and make it seem like an armed robbery gone wrong?
April and Kenny seem to be polar opposites. April has no history of any kind of criminal activity, yet she's associating with a man who has a very long rap sheet. He has a strong history of criminal behavior. What's the attraction here? April got in way too deep. She just thought that they were on some financial hard times and that this was a way to get some quick money and that no one would be hurt. But little did she know that what she was doing for her man was about to change the entire trajectory of her life.
Orlando detectives have compelling evidence that April Koger and her boyfriend, Kenny Cheney, are responsible for a series of armed robberies and the murder of Greg Whitbeck.
April Koger freely admitted her role in the crimes to detectives. And when police bring in Kenny Cheney for an interview, he does the same.
Kenny confessed to shooting Greg in the parking lot in front of the dialysis center. April confessed to being the driver and being an accomplice in all of the robberies.
Both are charged with murder, second-degree murder, armed robbery, and attempted armed robbery. When detectives inform Greg's family that his killers have been caught, they are less than satisfied.
They're not convinced that it was just some random robbery gone wrong. What they really want to know is, did Greg's wife have anything to do with this?
Investigators re-interview Kenny and show him a photo of Greg's wife, Josette.
They ask Kenny if he's able to identify the woman in the picture, and Kenny makes it clear that he has never seen this woman before in his life. She is a complete stranger, totally foreign to him, and he seems very sincere.
Detectives even went so far to look through Josette's bank records to see if there was any evidence that she paid someone to kill Greg. And there was nothing, so they were able to finally rule her out.
April's trial is scheduled to begin in February 2018. As the date approaches, prosecutors present her with a deal. April accepts.
Given the charges against April, it could have been a potential life sentence, but the DA offered April 17 years in prison in exchange for her testimony against Kenny as the planner of the crime and the gunman in the crime.
Kenny Cheney eventually pleads guilty to all the charges and is sentenced to life in prison. The convictions are little solace to the family and friends of Greg Whitbeck.
In one sense, it was comfort that they got caught, but at the same time, we were still angry about it. just angry because it didn't have to be that way.
By the time April Koger is released from prison, her 2 children will be adults, and she will have missed most of their childhood years.
The crimes that she committed for her man in the name of love, they were blinding to her. It skewed her judgment. She didn't make the right decisions. And now she has to live with that guilt for the rest of her life, away from her children.
And she said that she was just following the lead of her man because they were on hard times. She could have said no, but he assured her, and she trusted him. This should be a big lesson to young women in any kind of situation like this.
Young women feel that they need a man that's out there being tough and bad and just robbing and just, they like that fast life. It's not about the fast life. You don't need that kind of life because like April, look where she ended up. In prison for what? You just ruined your whole life.
Sharing a common purpose can lay a strong foundation between kindred spirits. But when violence becomes the means to achieve those goals, that foundation can crumble to dust, and the repercussions can shatter the lives of all involved.